There was
Terms of
the
service.
Yander dev
habbo.com
apology video,
terms of
and now
service.
Matt Pat is
Introduction.
leaving.
By installing, using, or otherwise accessing the service, you agree to these terms of service and our privacy policy.
Like,
If you do
I
not
know
agree,
Matt
you
Pat
do
has been
not
like doing
have
it for like a
permission
long
to.
time now. But I feel like maybe like he hopefully doesn't quit. 'Cause he's
Uh,
kind of
permi-
like the thing
you do not
about the
have
channel.
permission to install, use, or otherwise access the
I
service.
give him
Permission to
Uh,
use the service is void
Thanks.
where
But
prohibited.
Corky,
The
Corky,
terms of
don't
this
you think the
agreement,
channel
terms of
will
service or
actually like
terms,
probably
govern the
die down
relationship
a
between
lot
you
from
and
him leaving?
Sulek Oi.
Because
Hereinafter Sulek or
he's
us
the
or
game
we
theory guy,
regarding
you know?
your use
You
of Habbo
can't
Hotel
replace him.
located at
when that one girl
Oh
left.
yeah.
www.habbo.com on our other sites or
You can't
services that
replace
post
Matt
these
with like a
terms.
guy named Fred or something.
The
It has to be
services,
him.
whether accessed by computer or mobile phone or other device, each a device, use of the service is also governed by the service's privacy policy incorporated by heroin by reference, and you consent to
What
our
are you talking
practices
about?
as explained there. You further agree that we may change, alter, or modify the settings or configurations on your device in order to allow for or optimize your use of the service.
Are
In
you reading
addition,
the
some
terms
of
of
our
service?
service products or services may be made available
Why are you why are
subject
you
to
reading the
certain
TOS?
additional or different terms and or conditions that apply to them in each such instance, and collectively additional terms which will supplement these terms. Before accessing or using the service, you must agree to these terms and services privacy policy and register an account on the service and account. By registering for an account or otherwise using the service, you represent that you are 13 or older and you understand and
Corky,
accept
do you
these
remember
terms
State
of
of Decay?
services privacy policy.
Yeah.
If you are under the age of
That
majority
was
where you
a
live,
nice
you
game.
represent that your legal guardian has also reviewed and agreed to these terms and the service's privacy policy. The service may exist on or in connection with a number of third-party platforms, example Facebook. Please be aware that your activities on these platforms may also be subject to the terms of service or privacy policy for that platform, and we are not responsible for these third parties. Sulake reserves
Joining us.
the right to
No, I'm
prospectively
probably gonna get off like I
revise
said.
these terms at any time, meaning the old terms continue to apply to your
My day
use
is
that
ruined.
predates the changes. If we do, we will post the modified terms on the service and indicate the date of the most recent change above. And if you agree to this and agree to that, this will be sufficient notice to you that new terms apply and your continued use indicates your agreement to the new terms in connection with the ongoing use. Number one, license. The service contains a variety of materials and other items relating to Sulake and its products and services and similar items from our licensors and other third parties, including all layouts, information, text, data, files, images, scripts, data, graphics, button icons, instructions, illustrations, photographs, audio clips, music, sounds, pictures, videos, advertising copy, URLs, technology, software, communications, interactive features, and the look and feel of the service. And the compilation,
I don't. If you are not
assembly,
tempted by
and
that, I'm
arrangement
going to get
of
back
the
on Hitman.
materials of
I've
the
been waiting for
service
I
5
know, I
and
hours.
honestly
any
don't
and
care.
all copyrightable material, including source and object code. Trademarks, logos,
Where are
trade
you
names,
reading this
service marks,
from?
and trade identities
Corky,
of
he's reading the terms of
various
service for like
parties,
probably the
including those
hotel
Sulake
game.
collectively trademarks and other
I
forms
don't
of
know why you're
intellectual
giving him
property.
attention.
All of the foregoing collectively content unless otherwise specified in writing. All content is owned, controlled, or licensed by Sulake or its
Cork, are
licensors.
we
All
actually gonna
content is
play it, or like,
copyrighted
are you
under
gonna
copyright laws
leave it
and or
I
secret the
similar
whole
laws
time?
What do
protecting
you
it from
think is
unauthorized
going to
use.
happen?
The
What,
trademarks,
you're just gonna
including
join
but
and
I
not
don't know,
run
limited to
in the
Sulake,
maybe
lobby?
its
you'll invite your
logos and
strength suit and they'll
habbo
just ruin the
and
game
its
for me.
logos may
I don't.
not
Can
be
you remember
used
the last
without
time Shrinksy
Sulake's
played Dead by
express
Daylight, like in
written
Oh,
general?
permission.
he was
You
on it a few
agree
minutes ago. It's just
not
he's
to
willing to play
copy,
the game today.
redistribute, publish,
No.
or otherwise exploit any content in violation of the intellectual property
And
rights of
plus,
Sulake or any other third
like,
party.
I still don't want to play because
Subject
even if
to your
Trixie doesn't
strict
join, he'll be in
compliance
the
with these terms,
background just like
Sulake
annoying me.
grants you a limited, non-exclusive, revocable, non-assignable, personal and non-transferable license to download, temporary storage only, display, view, use, play and or print one copy of the content, excluding source and object code in raw form or otherwise other than as made
Inspirational.
available to access and use to enable display and functionality on a device for your personal non-commercial use only, and to use certain content that we may from time to time make available on the service explicitly for use as a part of your user-generated content defined below Sulake
Think they
license
purposely make like the terms
elements,
of service
but
long
only for
just so you
such
skip.
purposes as much
Maybe.
as may be explicitly stated at the time of Sulake licensed elements are made available on the service,
Or
but
maybe they
we
have
and
like
our
a goal of like how
licensors
many
and
words they need to
certain other
reach.
third parties,
Like they're writing like an
as the
essay.
case may be, retain ownership of such Sulake licensed elements. The foregoing limited license does not give you any ownership of or any other intellectual property interest in any content and may
When
be
I grow up,
immediately
I want to be the
suspended
person who
or
writes the terms
terminated
of
for
service
any
for
reason
video
in
games. It sounds
Sulake's
so
sole
fun.
discretion and without advance notice or liability. In some instances, we may permit you to have greater access to and use of content and or Sulake licensed elements
Also, Corky, did you
subject
see
to
how the
additional
how the
terms.
pricing update
Number
came out?
2, in-game
Mm.
currencies and goods. The service may
Oh
include
wait, never mind.
virtual
Shut up.
in-game currencies, virtual currency, such as credits, coins, cash, or points. Example, habbo coins and diamonds that may be
Finally.
purchased with real-world money or obtained through interactions with a third-party service. Virtual currency may be used to purchase
I think I'm
virtual
gonna buy the
in-game
Leon outfit because I
digital
like playing
items,
as
virtual
Leon, but the
goods.
RPG outfit does kind of
Your
suck.
purchase or award of virtual currency and virtual goods are merely granted by us to a limited, non-exclusive, revocable, non-assignable, personal, and non-transferable right to use the virtual currency and virtual goods as part of the service under these terms and any applicable additional terms we provide at the time. Accordingly, you have no other interest, including no property, pro- propri- proprietary intellectual property ownership or monetary interest in your virtual currency and virtual goods, which remain our content and property. We reserve the absolute right at any time in our sole discretion to manage, regulate, control, modify, or eliminate virtual currency and or virtual goods. Virtual currency or virtual goods cannot be redeemed by you for the real world money, goods, or other items of monetary value from any party. Transfers of virtual currency or virtual goods by you outside of what we permit on the service are strictly prohibited. This means you may not buy or sell virtual currency or virtual goods for real world money or otherwise exchange items for value outside of the service. You also agree that sales of virtual currency and virtual goods are final unless otherwise detailed in the applicable additional terms. No refunds will be given by Sulake. Sulake has the absolute right to manage, regulate, control, modify, and/or eliminate virtual currency and/or virtual goods as it seems fit in its sole discretion, including the right to terminate or suspend your account or discontinue its service in whole or in part for any reason. Sulake shall have no liability to you or anyone for the exercise of such rights. Number 3. Content created by you. User-generated content. It is possible
Why
for you to
isn't idle
contribute
ready enough
to
yet?
the service through the
Why are you
submission of
still
content
speaking?
I'm trying to
create
decide
or
if I want to buy
contribute
the Resident
to
Evil
the
4
creation
outfit or
of
not.
user-generated content. User-generated content includes, without limitation, various kinds of content
And do you
that are
think it's
submitted
worth
by
it,
users,
Corky?
for example,
Yeah.
wall posters, messages, reviews,
Because it's
and
quite better
actions
than
with
looking like this.
others and users,
Oh, I
as
guess
well
I'll
as
Alexa,
do it.
any
bedroom lights
feedback,
on.
comments, or
Oh my
suggestions
god,
that
Corky. The
users
What?
perk that I
you
bought Nicolas
users you
Cage for
provide
dramaturgy
to
is
us
in the shrine
regarding the
now.
service.
Oh.
You will retain you
That is
retain
so
whatever
annoying.
ownership you may have in your user-generated content, but you hereby irrevocably grants to Sulake a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free,
Okay, I'm gonna buy it.
sub-licensable and transferable license to use, reproduce, distribute, prepare derivative
And Shrink's even
works of
speaking this entire
display,
time.
perform, and otherwise exploit in any manner whatsoever the user-generated content or any portion thereof you submit to the service or otherwise to
Wait,
Sulake
hang on, idle.
by any and
Oh
all
my god,
means
we're matching.
and in all forms of media now known or hereafter developed, and to advertise, market, and promote the same to the extent permitted by applicable laws. You hereby waive any moral rights or rights of publicity or privacy you may have in or connection with such user-generated content. You represent that all user-generated content that you submit to the service is wholly original to you and exclusively own the right to such user-generated content, and or you have all necessary authority to grant all of the rights and licenses to Sulake under these terms and or any applicable additional terms, and that Sulake and its licensees may exercise those rights without Sulake or its licensees or successors incurring any third-party obligations or liabilities. Sulake reserves the right to control and operate our service in the manner we deem appropriate. In connection with doing so, we may monitor user-generated content and your activities in connection with the service, but cannot monitor or pre-screen all of the user-generated content and do not attempt to do so. We have the right, but not the obligation, to edit, refuse to post, or remove any user-generated content posted on the service that we deem objectionable objectionable or think violates these terms and any applicable additional terms, or the spirit of these terms and any applicable additional terms in our sole discretion and determination. If you encounter something you find objectionable and in violation of these terms, you can bring it to our attention by contacting us here. We do not assume any responsibility or liability for user-generated content that is generated by users of our service. You bear the entire risk of completeness, accuracy, or usefulness of any user-generated content found in connection with the service. You are solely responsible for your interactions with other users of the service and any other parties with whom you interact through the service. Sulake reserves the right but has no obligation to become involved in any way with these disputes. You will fully cooperate with Sulake to investigate any suspected unlawful, fraudulent, or improper activity, including without limitation granting Sulake access to any password-protected portions of your account. If you have a dispute with one or more users, you release us and our officers, directors, agents, subsidiaries, joint ventures, and employees from claims, demands, and damages, actual and consequential, of every kind and nature, known and unknown, arising out out of or in any way connected with such disputes. Number 4. Account. Username and password. During account creation process, you'll be required to select a password, login information. You shall not share the account or login information, nor let anyone else access your account or do anything else that might jeopardize the security of your account. In the event you become aware of or reasonably suspect any breach of security, including, without limitation, any loss, theft, or unauthorized disclosure of the login information, you must immediately notify Sulake and modify your login information. You are solely responsible for maintaining the confidentially of
Game.
confidentiality, that's the word, of the login information, and you'll be responsible for
Confidentiality. It's
all
she-ality.
all uses of the login information, including purchases, whether or not authorized
Shoe-ality.
by you.
Shoe-ality.
You are responsible for anything that happens through your account. Sulake reserves the right to remove or reclaim any usernames at any time for any reason, including but not limited to claims by third party that a username violates third party's rights. Number 5. Use of the service. You shall not use our content off of our service except as we may allow use of Sulake's licensed elements for certain fan site use approved by us in writing. And do not approve, and you may not create or use retro or substitute sites or services that offer gameplay with our content off of our service. In addition, you must follow our rules and the spirit of them, including the habbo way and without limitation. No young children and parents responsible for minors. You shall not create an account or access the service if you are under the age of 13, and shall not permit access to children under the age of 13. If you're under the age of majority, not yet legally an adult, your parent or legal guardian must approve, and take responsibility for your account for any use of a credit card or other payment instrument, example PayPal, by minors. No false information. You shall not create an account using false identity or information or on behalf of someone other than yourself. You shall not use the service if you have previously been removed or banned from the service by Sulake. You shall not falsify or delete any author attributions, legal or other proper notices, or proprietary proprietary designations or labels of the origin or sources of software or other materials contained in a file that is uploaded, or forge headers, or otherwise manipulate identifiers to disguise the origin of any material transmitted through the service. No use of others' content without proper permission. You shall not use any user-generated content or other content that belongs to other people and pass it off as your own. That includes any content that you might have found elsewhere on the internet. If anyone contributes to your user-generated content or has any rights to your user-generated content, or if anyone appears in the user-generated content, you must also have their permission to submit
I don't
user-generated
get the gen.
content
I swear,
to
if you don't get that
Sulake
gen,
under
I'm
these
going to
terms.
get your family.
No commercial or political use. You shall use your
Dang, he
account and
exposed
service
the
for
injured survivor. That's crazy.
non-commercial and non-political purposes. You shall not use the service for any features on the service to advertise or solicit or transmit any commercial advertisements, including chain letters, junk or spam email, surveys, contests, pyramid schemes, or repetitive messages to anyone, to distribute unsolicited email to others for commercial use or otherwise, or harvest or otherwise collect personal information about individuals, including email addresses or screen names, for the purpose of sending unsolicited emails or for exchange. You shall not advertise or offer to sell sell or buy any goods or services for any commercial or business purpose. You shall not download or otherwise
Literally saved
copy or
your
provide,
life. You're
whether
welcome.
or not for a fee, to a person or entity, any directory of visitors to the service or other visitor or usage information or any portion therefore. Oh my god. Oh, where was I? Oh. No harassment, defamation, or profanity shall. You shall not publish, post, or upload, distribute, or disseminate any material or information on the service which is inappropriate, profane, defamatory, infringing, obscene, indecent, or unlawful topic, name, material, or information, including but not limited to pornography, depictions of acts of violence and sexual acts, and material and information which may perpetrate hatred against any person or group having the likely effort of causing harm or offense, is a false statement about a person or their property or business which is actuated by malice or may cause financial harm to that person, is misleading or deceptive, is a breach of confidence or invasion of the person's right to privacy, may cause us to breach or be involved in a breach of law, a code, or an instruction which governs our conduct, or otherwise infringes any person's rights, including without limitation their intellectual property rights. Example, copyright or trademark rights, or the rights of privacy or publicity. No harm, damage, interference. You shall not
I'm gonna
upload
run.
files that contain or otherwise intentionally release or disseminate viruses, Trojan horses, worms, time bombs, cancel bots, corrupted files, or any other similar software or programs that may interfere with or damage Sulake, the service, its content, or the operation of another device or property of another. You shall not download any file posted by another visitor of a homepage, chat room, or message board that you know or reasonably should know cannot be legally distributed. You shall not restrict or inhibit, is that a typo? Any other user from enjoying
Inhabit.
in no, it's inhibit any other user from using and enjoying the 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 home pages, chat room, and message boards, or violate any code of conduct or guidelines which may be displayed on the service for any particular feature of service. No law or violations or conspiracy you shall not violate or encourage others to violate any laws or regulations or the legal rights of another individual on the service. No refusal to cooperate. You shall not refuse to follow instructions
Why is
of
everyone
any
going down?
personnel of Sulake or a Sulake affiliate. Sulake reserves the right to determine what conduct it considers to be in violation of the rules of use or otherwise outside the intent or spirit of these terms, any applicable additional terms, or the service itself. Sulake reserves the right to take action as a result, which may include terminating your account and prohibiting you from
Idle,
using
you
the
ruined things,
service.
flashlight save. Oh my god.
Fucking hell. Okay. Oh. Oh.
Oh, I tried to help.
Oh. Oh. 6. Third parties. The service may also contain links as part of third-party ads or content on the service or otherwise to or from third-party websites, linked sites, including websites operated by advertisers, licensors, licensees, and certain other third parties who may have business relations with Sulake. Example, inside of the Habbo Game Center or via links to sites outside of the service that are operated by third parties. Sulake, another typo, there's meant to be a space there. Sulake may have no control over the content, operations, policies, terms, or other elements of linked sites, and Sulake does not assume any obligation to review any linked sites. Sulake, Sulake there's space there. Sulake does not endorse, approve, or sponsor any linked sites or any third-party content, advertising, information, materials, products, services, or other items. Furthermore, Sulake is not responsible for the quality or delivery of the products or the services offered, accessed, obtained by, or advertised as such sites. Finally, Sulake will under no circumstances be liable for any direct, indirect, incidental, that's the word, or special loss or other damage, whether arising from negligence,
You guys are so
breach, or
annoying.
contract
You guys are actually
defamation,
terrible. Like,
infringement
what
of
are you
copyright
doing?
or
Like,
other
I was
intellectual
shaking. I was like, oh.
property rights, or
Oh my god, I'm
otherwise
dead. Corky,
arising
just Corky,
out
please stop.
of
Corky,
or
run. Oh
related
my
to
god,
linked
we're all
sites
gonna
of their
die. We're all dead.
products
We're
or
dead. Good job,
services.
Corky.
Any
Corky,
activities
please.
you
Oh,
engage
okay.
in
Well, actually, wait, one more
connection
hit. One
with
more hit.
any of the
Corky,
same
Corky,
subject
Corky, you can't go back now.
to the
Corky, you can't go back. I hate you so much. I was, I 99. I hate you.
the
I hate you.
privacy and other policies,
Oh,
terms and
Corky.
conditions of use and or sale,
Now he's not. He's
and
not gonna
rules
go
issued
after
by
me.
the operator of the linked site. The linked sites may send cookies
Well,
or
Corky, it's
solicit
GG.
personal information from you.
Oh,
And
I
It is
don't. What do
as
you
we
mean,
not.
have no
GG?
control
But
over these linked
I thought he
sites,
would be
you
like a
agree
normal
that
killer
we
who
have no
Doing
just
responsibility
things.
for their
just.
actions,
I thought
and you
he'd be a
should
killer who
review
just.
their privacy
No!
policies.
Oh my god, I'm
Sulake
so sorry.
disclaims
I'm
all
so sorry. I
liability in
can't believe I just
connection
did that.
therewith. Further,
Corky,
where
was that a
parts
Just
of
murder
the
C?
time.
service contain
Should we just get a
advertising,
gen done?
content, and other
Yeah.
materials
Okay.
submitted to us by third parties, please note that those third parties are not responsible for ensuring the material
Corky.
submitted for
Uh-huh.
inclusion on the service complies with all legal and regulatory requirements.
Oh man.
Sulake
Ah, this
disclaims
flash.
all liability in connection
Everyone
with
take
such
that.
What?
advertising or
What?
other third-party content or material.
Fang, Fang, Fang,
Any
Fang,
interactions,
Fang. Yes,
correspondence,
Fang.
What
transactions,
Yes,
thing?
and
Fang.
other dealings that you
Okay, now
have
Oh.
with
body block.
any third
Okay.
Body
What?
block.
parties
Oh
found on
my
or through the
god.
I was
service,
literally off.
including on or
Okay,
via
time
linked
time for the
sites
crawl
or
away track.
third-party advertisements
Okay.
or
Time for the
content made
crawl away.
available on
Mhm.
or through
Okay,
our
he goes for me
service are
first.
solely
Why
between
does he
you
go for
and the
me
third
first? Who
party,
knows?
including issues related to the content of third-party advertisement, payments, delivery of goods, warranties, including product warranties, privacy and
I
data
got
security,
this.
and the
I
like.
got this.
Sulake disclaims all liability in connection therewith. Number 7. New user acquisition, remarketing, and campaign tracking. New user acquisition for mobile apps. In order to acquire new users,
Idle, you
we
gotta
create
escape.
advertisements, banners, or videos for habbo and provide our advertisements
We
to
have two
third-party user
P100s in there, by the
acquisition
way.
companies,
Mhm.
which shows our ads in their apps or on their website. If you click on the banner slash video shown to you in a third-party app or on a third-party website, you'll be redirected to the app stores, Google or Apple, where you can install Habbo. The information that
Seriously,
you
so
have clicked slash
how are you entertained
viewed,
by that?
the
You better turn it into
advertisement
like a YouTube video at
campaign
least. This is a waste of
information
time.
will be sent from the user acquisition companies to an attribute platform provider, AppsFlyer and Firebase, and will be passed by AppsFlyer or Firebase to the App Store. If you install Habbo, the campaign information will also be passed from the App Store to us and will be processed to measure the effectiveness of our advertisements. When you start playing Habbo, we collect and share your device identifier, your IP address, and other online identifiers past install events, such as account registration, login tutorial completion, level up in-game purchases, either through AppsFlyer or and Firebase SDK, or directly with the user acquisition companies, which helps them optimize their services. Number 8. Updates and
Corgi?
modifications to
Yeah.
the service.
Is that
You
Michael we went
understand that the
against?
service is
Rotten
an
knuckle.
evolving one, so
No
like
Oh.
perks, no offering, and no add-ons.
so
He's
like may
also a
require that you
2-0.
accept updates to the service and to the third-party software you have installed on your device. You acknowledge and agree that Sulik may update and modify the service with or without notifying you. You may need to update third-party softwares from time to time in order to continue the use of the service. Number 9. Termination survival. Without limitation, we may terminate your license to the service or otherwise suspend or terminate your account at any time with or without notice to you. If A, you breach these terms or any applicable additional terms, including without limitations, without limitation in the Habbo way. B, you have not accessed your account for 180 days. Or C, if the service is going to be shut down or merged with other sites and or services. In these situations, your account license to the service or part therefore will be automatically terminated in such events. Sulake shall not be required to provide refunds, benefits, or other compensation to users in connection with such discontinued services. Termination of your account can include disabling your account to the service or any part thereof, including any content you or others submit. Without limiting our other remedies, we may limit, suspend, or terminate the service and user accounts or portions thereof, prohibit access to our game and service and their content services and tools, delay or remove hosted content, and take technical and legal steps to prevent users from accessing the service if we believe they are creating risk or possible legal liabilities, infringing the intellectual property rights of third parties, or acting inconsistently with the letter or spirit of our terms or any applicable additional terms. Additionally, we may, in appropriate circumstances and at our sole discretion, suspend or terminate accounts of users who may be repeat infringers of third-party intellectual property rights. You accept that you have 6 months from when your account gets banned to contact us about an appeal. After 6 months, our customer service will no longer be able to assist you. You may terminate your access to the service at any time for any reason without penalty by contacting us here, at which point you will no longer be permitted to use the service. We will not refund you the fees or any part of them that we have already charged you. Any suspension or termination will not affect your obligations to Sulake under these terms or any applicable additional terms. Upon suspension or termination of your account to the service or upon notice from Sulake, all rights granted to you under these terms or any applicable additional terms will cease immediately, and you agree that you will immediately
Idle, do you even feel
discontinue
like
use
playing
of
Dead
the
by Daylight?
service. The provisions of these terms and any applicable
Did I
additional
leave him
terms,
here?
which by their nature should survive your suspension or termination, will survive, including the rights and licenses you grant to Sulake in these terms, as well as the indemnities indemnities releases, disclaimers and limitations on liability, and the provisions regarding jurisdiction, choice of law, no class action, and mandatory arbitration. Number 10. Disclaimer of warranties, limitation of liability, sole and exclusive remedy, indemnification. Number 10.1. Disclaimer of warranties. Your access and... What the fuck? Oh no.
I don't remember that part of the habbo terms and conditions.
What the fuck? Hold on. Oh, okay. Never mind. Number 10. Your access to and use of the service is at your own risk. To the... to the... Oh, to the fullest extent permitted by applicable law, the service is provided on an as is and as available basis for use without warranties of any kind, express or implied, including without limitation the warranties of merchantability, fitness for particular purpose, title, non-infringement, misappropriation of intellectual property, intellectual property rights of third parties, and those arising from course of dealing or usage of trade. Sulake does not warrant or make any representations as to the service and its functions, features and elements and products or services offered or referenced at or linked through the service, the security associated with the transmission of your user-generated content to or via the service that you'll be able to access or use service at the times or locations of your choosing, that the service will be uninterrupted or error-free, that defects will be corrected, or that the game or the service are free of viruses or other harmful components. Uh, 10.2. Limitation
Corky,
of
ready
liability,
up.
sole and
What are you
exclusive
I was
remedy.
doing?
waiting on
To the
you to
fullest
answer
extent
me.
permitted
I,
by
I
The
did.
common
applicable
thing,
law,
I did.
the
Sulake
common
shall
thing when you
not be
ask a
liable
question, someone answers.
to you for any direct, indirect, incidental,
Corky, can you
consequential,
read? Can you read on
This
Discord?
question,
consequential,
I don't. This
special,
question, the question
punitive,
that you
or
ignore.
other
I'll play one more
similar
game because I wanna watch
damages,
Sheldon with my mom.
including but
Great.
not limited to
Did you not
loss
read the ending part of
or
that?
other
Yeah, I
intangible
can
losses.
speak.
However, such losses are
I have a
qualified,
voice.
arising out of the
Okay,
relating
hang on. I'm gonna go
in any
throw away
way
my
to your
plate,
access
and I'll
to
be right
and
back.
use of the
1 minute.
service and your rights under these terms of service or any applicable additional terms, whether based on contract, tort, or any other legal theory, and whether or not Sulake has been advised of the possibility of such damages. You further agree that under no circumstances shall Sulake Sulake shall not be liable to you for more than the amount you have paid to Sulake in accordance with these terms of service. Oh my god, title drop, or any applicable additional term in the six months immediately preceding the date on which you first assert a claim. You acknowledge and agree that you have not paid anything to Sulake during such time period. Your sole remedy and Sulake's exclusive liability for any dispute with the Sulake is to stop the service and cancel your account. If such remedies are deemed insufficient under any applicable law, Sulake's liability should instead be limited to lesser of €500 or the minimum amount required by law. 10.3. Jurisdictional limitations. Some jurisdictions do not allow the exclusion of certain warranties or limitation or exclusion of liability for certain types of damages. Accordingly, some of the above disclaimers and limitations may not apply to you to the extent that Sulake may not, as a matter of applicable law, disclaim any warranty or limit its liability as set forth herein, and the scope of such warranty and the extent of Sulake's liability shall be the minimum permitted under such applicable law. To the extent required by applicable law, nothing in these terms of service or any applicable additional term shall affect the statutory rights of any consumer or exclude or restrict any liability for death or personal injury arising from any negligence or fraud of Sulake. Number 10.4. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify, defend, or hold Sulake and its successors and assigns harmless from any claim, demand, damages, or any other losses, including reasonable attorney's fees asserted by any third party resulting from or arising out of use of information you submit to us, including your user-generated content through the service, your use of services, or your activities in connection with the service. Any breach by you of these terms or any applicable additional terms, your violation of any laws in connection with your use of the service or your activities in connection with the service, content transmitted through your device that infringes, violates, or misappropriates any copyright, trademark, trade secret, trade dress, patent, publicity, privacy, or other right of any personal entity, and any misrepresentation made by you. All the foregoing claims and losses will
Have you just had this
you
muted
will
this whole time and
cooperate
you're just
as
reading the
fully
TOS?
required by us in the defense of any claim and loss. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary, we retain exclusive right to control, settle, compromise, and pay any and all claims and losses. We reserve the right to assume the exclusive defense and control of any claims and losses. You will not settle any claims and losses without, in each
Why are
instance,
you
the
still
prior written
speaking?
consent of any officer of Sulake.
He's probably
Number
making a
11.
YouTube video because there's no way he'd be this dedicated to something without
Arbitration
it being
and
a YouTube
No,
class
there's
video.
action waiver.
definitely a chance that he'd be
Certain
this dedicated in
portions
general.
of the Section
Oh,
10
it's
are
probably
deemed to
for a
be
YouTube
written
video.
agreement to
You
arbitrate
don't know that.
per
Okay, if
person
it's for a
to
YouTube
the
video,
U.S.
then
Federal
I'm better
Arbitration
than you
Act
in
and
every
applied
way.
to all United States
Yeah, even if it
users
isn't a YouTube video, you know that
of the
isn't true.
service
Nice
and
try though.
When
all other
has he
users to
done
the
something like
extent
this
of
without it being a
mandatory
YouTube video?
laws
He's been doing
in
this for
their
like almost an
country
hour
Multiple
now.
of
times.
residence permit, the
Like what?
various terms of the service, so some
Like what?
propositions will not
I can't
apply to
remember. All I
some
know is that he's
users
done something
if
like this
doing
before.
so would
Like
violate
for like an
mandatory
hour? 'Cause that's how long it's been.
applicable law.
Yeah.
You and Sulake
Okay.
agree that we intend that the Section 10 satisfies the writing requirement of the Federal Arbitration Act. This Section 10 can only be changed or terminated upon mutual agreement. 11.1. Disputes. Any controversy, allegations, or claim between you and Sulake arising out of or relating to the service, the content, these terms or any applicable additional terms, whether heretofore or hereafter arising are disputes. 11.1.1. First, try to resolve. If you or Sulik becomes aware of a dispute, then you you and
Michael, how
we
do you play
agree
this
to
game?
send a written notice to the other
Yeah, I'm just gonna
providing a
let
reasonable
Shrinksley continue
description of
doing
the
that
dispute along
muted.
with a
I
proposed
cannot listen to
resolution
that
of
the
it.
entire time.
Our notice to
I've
you
been
will be
listening to
sent
it for the
to
last
you
45 minutes
based
and I
on
cannot
the
handle
most
anymore.
recent contact information that you provide us. But if no such information exists, or if such information is not current, then we have
Oh,
no
okay, I can
Can
obligation
you
almost
under
win?
Section
guarantee it'll be a
10.1.1.
YouTube video.
Your
He's
notice
gonna
to
title
us
it like reading
must
the entire
be
TOS
sent
for
to
whatever the hotel
Sulake
game
or
is
a
called.
legal
Habbo Hotel.
Degmarinkatu 6
Habbo Hotel.
00100
That was a
Helsinki,
sick teleport.
Finland for a
Habbo
period of
Hotel.
60
What was that faster?
days from
Habbo
date
Hotel.
of receipt of notice from other party,
Whoa.
Sulik and another
That was
typo, there's a
crazy.
space there,
Did you see the
and you
idol?
will engage in a dialogue in
Whoa.
order to attempt to resolve the dispute, though nothing will require
Epic.
either you or Sulik
I
to
know.
resolve the dispute on terms with respect
Well,
to which you
idol.
and Sulik in each
that
of our
was
sole
so
discretion
dumb.
are not
Why did you try
comfortable.
that? Like,
I don't
realistically,
know.
in what world would that have worked?
I don't know. It actually has to be a YouTube video though, because
11
he's giving his own little comments like, oh, a typo, when no one is like listening to him at all.
11 1
There's
I
you
no
mean,
way
are
I
it's
was
not a
listening to it
YouTube
for a
11
good
video.
1 2
45 minutes.
Well, yeah, but
arbitration of
obviously, like, we're
most
not anymore.
disputes.
Like,
If we
now it's so,
cannot
like,
resolve a
he'd
dispute
just
as
be like
set
literally
forth
wasting his life. He just
in
has to for a
section
YouTube video.
10.11 within 60
Like, it would still
No,
be a
it
waste.
I
could
already read.
very well
Did
be that he's just reading them.
I read that
Like,
one?
no lie
Receipt
whatsoever there.
of notice, then
Poor
either
They
guy's
would
you or
totally
we
be
may
reading this.
submit
Just
the
It is
fully
most
dispute to
definitely
serious.
a YouTube video.
formal arbitrate. I
And
did
then
read
I'm gonna
that
be
one.
in it, and then I'm gonna want to not live
11
anymore.
1 free arbitrator upon
Why?
S
They'd be in such a popular video.
aspiration
Everyone
Yeah,
of
that's the
would know
the
your
problem.
name.
My
applicable
cat meter's
60
going up.
day period and
Yeah,
Okay.
to
my
the
heartbeat
extent
is not going away, and
permitted
neither is the
by
hag.
applicable law, a dispute will be resolved solely by
The hag
binding
is like obsessed with me currently.
fucking halfway through by binding
Did you
arbitration
like
in
some of
accordance
my
with
plays that like last
the
match
then
with the
current jams
P100s? That wasn't that
comprehensive
bad.
arbitration
actually
rules
did
and
pretty
procedures
good.
of Jams Inc. Jams.
Maybe.
Jams procedures,
Like my
rules, and
Sabo
fee
plays and
information are
stuff.
available as follows. Jams
Like the David was body blocking, and then I don't know if it was a David.
Yeah.
http ://www.
I don't know what she's doing, and she's scaring me.
/1114 nature, limitations, and location of alternative dispute resolution. In arbitration as with a court, the arbitrator must honor the terms of these terms and any other applicable additional terms and can award prevailing party damages and other relief, including attorney's fees. However, with arbitration A, there is no judge or jury. B, the arbitration proceeding
Is it just weird that Trinity
and
get louder?
arbitration outcome
I don't know, I
are
got deader.
subject to certain confidentiality rules, and C, judicial review of the arbitration outcome is limited. All parties
win the game.
to the arbitration will have the right at
Like,
their
it's
own
been long
expense
enough.
to
Win the game
represent by
already.
an attorney or
Oh my
other
god, is she gonna be one of those hacks that places like
of
5
their
million
choosing.
traps around the
If
hook?
an
I hope so, so I can just trigger all of
in-person
them and run away.
arbitration hearing is
Why
required,
would you
then
do
it will be
that? Now I'm
conducted
literally
in
gonna
the
get canned.
metropolitan
Oh,
area where
Bill
you
is
are resident
being
at the
extra
time the
sneaky.
dispute is
Where are the
submitted
other
to an
traps? There's only
arbitrum.
one.
You
There were 2. Bill already
you
set one
and
off.
we will
She gonna
pay
tunnel or
the
she?
administrative and
Wow, that was
arbitrage
being a
fees
little silly.
and other costs in accordance with the applicable arbitrations rules, but if applicable arbitration rules of law require Sulik to pay a greater portion of all such fees and costs in order for this section 10 to be enforceable, then Sulik will have the right to elect to pay the fees and costs and proceed to arbitration. Discovery will not be permitted
really obsessed with me.
pursuant to the applicable arbitration rules. The
The
arbitrator's decision must consist of a written statement stating the disposition of each claim of the dispute and must provide a statement of essential findings and conclusions on which decision and any award, if any, is based. Judgment on the arbitration decision
40 to 60,
and
I'd
award,
say.
if any, may
Actually,
be entered
75 to
in
25.
or by any court that has jurisdiction over the parties pursuant to Section 9 of the Federal Arbitration Act.
I get what you're saying.
11.1.5 No class action matters. Disputes will be arbitrated only on an individual basis and will not be consolidated with any other
It's just like
it
very
just seems like
inspirational, to be honest. Like, I
arbitrations
wonder how
or
many
Yeah.
sips
other
of water
proceedings
he has
that
just
involve
refused to take.
any claim or controversy
Do you think
or
he's just been speaking
any
the
other
entire time
party.
without, like,
But if for any reason any court with
she has placed
competent
a good 5
jurisdiction or
traps
any
around the hood,
arbitrator
by the way.
selected
And my
pursuant
camp meter's gonna go
to
up all the way, just leave.
Section
okay,
10.1.3
whatever. I'm not over
holds
there. Yeah,
that
it's
this
David.
restriction is
Oh my God, you're actually gonna die
unconscionable
now
or
because of David.
unenforceable, then our
If she stays
agreement
just
in
a little
Section
bit longer.
10.1.2
Oh my
to
god.
arbitrate
Should I
will
get
not
the unknown?
apply and the
Should I get
dispute
the
must be
unknown?
brought exclusively in court
Alright.
persuasion pursuant
No, I'm opening the
I
exit
guess I'm
to
right
not
after
Section
that smart,
generator.
10.3.
but I'm kind of screwed if she catches me.
11.16 Limited time to
Go
file
to
claims
the exit right
to
by
the
the generator
fullest
after it's
extent
completed.
permitted by applicable law
I don't think
if
I can
you
make
or
it
we
over there.
want to
Wait,
assert
there's
a
one
dispute
closest to
but
the
not
unopened
a
dispute.
excluded dispute
Yeah,
against
and
the
I'm the
other,
closest to the
There's
then
killer
one
shack.
you or
here.
we must commence it by delivery or written notice as
Idle,
set
I might
forth
be
in Section
dead.
10.1.1
Okay, let me
within
99 it.
1
Hold on.
year after discovery of the dispute arises, or it will be forever
Bill's
barred.
gonna open it. Oh my God! I 99'd it for a
11.2
reason,
Excluded
and then he
disputes.
went up to it and opened it.
The following disputes
Oh my God.
constitute
Hag is
excluded
keeping me here.
disputes here under any dispute regarding any of
No.
Sue Lake's
Wait, flashbang.
actual or alleged intellectual property
Idle.
rights.
Come on.
Dispute to
Okay, help
any
me.
Where's the hook?
extent that the
No. Oh
laws
my
Over here.
God,
of the
I can't do it. I can't do it. Can I do it?
You can do
laws of
this.
the
I can't do it. Crook, I
user's
can't do it.
local
No!
Okay, well that
jurisdiction
I'm so sorry.
authorize
I'm so
may
sorry.
wasn't your fault.
be brought in small
That was kind of
claims
fun. I like that.
court and legal action
What?
taken by
Was that
Sue Lake to
Max?
Running
seek
the hag the entire game.
injunction
That was
or
really
other
fun. I don't even care that I died.
equitable relief in connection with any
I mean,
loss,
clearly you
cost,
made her mad
or
enough
damage, or any potential loss, cost, or damage
run you for like
relating to the
generator.
service, any content, your user-generated content, and or Sue Lake's
I'm
intellectual
gonna go use the
property
Yeah, by the way,
rights,
Bill is not doing
including
anything
such
to
as Sue
help.
Lake
He's just sitting at the
may
exit gate.
claim that
Yeah, did you hear when I
that
said
may
how I
be in
99'd
dispute.
it on
Sue Lake's
purpose?
Yeah.
When I
operations
walked away,
and
he
or Sue
opened it.
Lake's products or services
Bill, don't even
collectively
go for the save. You ruined it for
injunctive
everyone
relief.
already.
11.2.1
Yeah,
First, try to
go
resolve.
back. Go
If
back.
X, any
Oh no.
excluded dispute
Look at him, he's
arises,
being
and Y,
stealthy.
excluding
Okay,
Bill is just
excluded
like Bill
dispute
Carey.
involving
I'm gonna go bathroom.
injunctive
Okay,
relief,
I'm gonna go
you
young
and
Sheldon.
we agree to send a
Okay,
written
bye.
notice to the other
Okay,
providing
will you
a
be on in like
reasonable
an hour?
description of the excluded
Maybe.
dispute, along
Well,
with
I'll
a
probably play
proposed
VR, so yeah,
resolution
probably an
of it.
hour.
Our notice to
Okay.
you will be sent to
Okay,
you
bye.
based on the most
Okay,
recent
goodbye.
contact information that you provide us. But if no such information exists, or if such information is not current,
Are you still
then we
going,
have
Trinksy?
no obligation under this section 10.2.1. Your notice to us must be sent to Sue Lake Oil Legal, Dagmarinkatu 600100, Helsinki, Finland, for a period of 60 days from the date of receipt of notice from the other party. Sue Lake and you will engage in dialogue in order to attempt to resolve the excluded dispute, though nothing will require either you or Sue Lake to resolve the excluded dispute on terms with respect to which you and Sue Lake in each of our sole discretion are not comfortable. 10.2.2 If we cannot resolve authorized excluded dispute as set forth in section 10.2.1 within 60 days or receipt of the notice, then either you or we may submit the excluded dispute to formal arbitration pursuant to section 10.1. Only if you are Sue Lake consent in a writing signed by you and an officer or business and legal affairs representative of Sue Lake to have that excluded dispute subject to arbitration in such a case, and only in such a case. The excluded dispute will be deemed a dispute and shall be governed by section 10.1. In the absence of such agreement, section 10.1 shall not apply to excluded disputes, and sections 10.3 and 15.1 shall apply. Chapter 11, 2, 3. Injunctive relief. With respect to excluded disputes involving injunctive relief, sections 10.3, 50, and 15.1 apply, and SULIC may institute such excluded disputes as authorized therein immediately. 11.3. Jurisdiction. Except to the extent that arbitration is required in section 10.1 or authorized in section 10.2, and except as to the enforcement of any arbitration decision or award, any action or proceeding relating to any dispute, excluded dispute may only be instituted in the Helsinki, Finland. Accordingly, you and SULIC can consent to the exclusive personnel, jurisdiction, and venue of such courts for such matters. 12. Other dispute resolutions where arbitration is not applicable. This section 11 applies to all users of the service if and only to the extent that mandatory applicable laws do not arbitrate of disputes in accordance with section 10. 12.1 Section 11 disputes. If any controversy, allegation, or claim, including any non-contractual claim, arises out of or relates to the service of the content, these terms or any applicable additional terms, whether heretofore or hereafter arising, or to any SULIC's actual or alleged intellectual property rights, collectively a Section 11 dispute, then you and we agree to send a written notice to the other providing a reasonable description of Section 11 dispute along with a proposed resolution of it. Our notice to you will be sent to you based on the most recent contact information that you provide us, but if no such information exists, or if such information is not current, then we have no obligation under the Section 10.1, 11.1. Your notice to us must be sent to SULIC Oy Legal Dagmarinkatu 600100 Helsinki, Finland, except to extent SULIC determines if reasonable necessary to seek immediate relief to protect its or third-party rights for a period of 60 days from the date of receipt of notice from the other party. SULIC and you will engage in a dialogue in order to attempt to resolve the Section 11 dispute, though nothing will require either you or SULIC to resolve the Section 11 dispute on terms with respect to you and SULIC in each of our sole discretion and not comfortable. 12.2 Jurisdiction. Oh my god. 12.2 Jurisdiction. 12.2 Jurisdiction. The parties agree that the courts in Finland shall have jurisdiction of any Section 11 dispute, and you consent to the venue there. 12.3 Limited time to file claims. To the fullest extent permitted by applicable law, if you or we want to assert a Section 11 dispute against the other, then you or we must commence it by delivery or written notice as set forth in Section 11.1 within one year after discovery of the Section 11 dispute arises, or it will be forever barred. 13. Severability. You and SULIC agree that if any portion of these terms or any applicable additional terms or the service provided policy is found illegal or unenforceable in whole or in part by any court of competent jurisdiction, such provision shall, as to such jurisdiction, be ineffective solely to the extent of such determination of invalidity and or unenforceability without affecting the validity validity or enforceability thereof in any other manner of or jurisdiction, and without affecting the remaining provisions of the terms, which shall continue to be in full force and effect. 14. Wireless. The service may offer certain features and services that are available to you via your wireless device. These features and services may include the ability to access services, features, and upload content to the service, receive messages from the service, and download applications to your wireless device. Collectively, wireless features. Standard messaging, data, and other fees may be charged by your carrier to participate in wireless features. Fees and charges may appear on your wireless bill or be deducted from your prepaid balance. Your carrier may prohibit or restrict certain wireless features, and certain wireless features may be incompatible with your carrier or wireless device. You should check with your carrier to find out what plans are available and how much they cost. You agree that as a wireless as to the wireless features for which you are registered for, we may send communications to your wireless device regarding us or other parties. Further, we may collect information related to your use of wireless features. If you have registered via service for wireless features, then you agree to notify Seal Lake of any changes to your wireless contact information, including phone number, and update your account on the service to reflect the changes. Okay. 15. Linking to our service, we grant you a limited, non-exclusive, revocable, non-assignable, personal, and non-transferable license to create hyperlinks to the service so long as A, the links only incorporate text and do not use any trademarks. B, the links and content on your website do not suggest any affliction with Sea Lake or cause any confusion. And C, the links and content on your on your website do not portray Sea Lake or its products or services in a false, misleading, derogatory, or otherwise offensive manner, and do not contain content that is unlawful, offensive, obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, violent, threatening, harassing, or abusive, or that violate any right of the third party or are otherwise objectionable to Sulik. Sulik reserves the right to suspend or prohibit linking to the service for any reason in its sole discretion without advance notice or any liability of any kind to you or any third party. Any third party? Oh, 16. General provision. 16.1. Governing law. You and we disclaim that any application to these terms of the Convention on Contrast for the international sales of goods to the maximum extent permitted by the mandatory law in your country of residence. These terms are applicable, additional terms, and any dispute arising out of or in connection with it, or its subject matter or formatting, including non-contractual disputes, will be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of the United States for users located in the United States and the laws of Finland for all other users, without regard to conflicts of law provisions that may apply other law. 16.2. Assignment. Sulik may assign or delegate these terms, any applicable additional terms, and or the services privacy policy in whole or in part to any person or entity at any time, with or without your consent. You may not assign or delegate any rights or obligations under the terms and or the services privacy policy without Sulik's prior written consent, and any or unauthorized assignment and delegation by you is inefficient. 16.3. Entire agreement. These terms, any applicable additional terms, and any documents expressly incorporate by reference heroin, including the service's privacy policy containing the entire understanding of you and Sulik, and supersede all prior understandings of the parties hereto, there's a space there, relating to the subject matter hereof, whether electronic, oral, or written, or whether established by custom, practice, policy, or precedent between you and us, with the respect to the service. 16.4. No waiver. The failure of Sulik to require or enforce strict performance by you or you of any provision of these terms, any applicable additional terms, and/or the service's privacy policy, or failure to exercise any right under them shall not be construed as a waiver or relinquish of Sulik's right to assert or rely upon any such provision, or right in that or any other instance. The express waiver by Sulik or of any provision, condition, or requirement of these terms, any applicable additional terms, and/or the service's privacy policy shall not constitute a waiver of any future obligation to comply with such provision, condition, or requirement, except as expressly and specifically set forth in these terms and any applicable additional terms. No representations, statements, consents, waivers, or other acts of omissions by Sulik shall be deemed as modification of these terms or any applicable additional terms, nor legally binding, unless documented in physical writing and signed by you and duly appointed officer of Sulik. Oh my god. Okay. 16.5. Notices, updates to terms, questions, customer support. As our services evolves, the terms and conditions under which we offer the service may prospectively be modified, and we may cease offering the service under the terms or any applicable additional terms for which they were previously offered. Accordingly, each time you sign in to or otherwise use the service, you're entering into a new agreement with us on then applicable terms and conditions, and you agree, we may notify you of other terms by posting them on the service or in any other reasonable manner of notice we elect, and that your use of the service after such notice constitutes your going forward agreement to the other terms for your new use and transactions. You can reject any new, revised, or additional terms by discontinuing use of service and canceling your account. You agree that we may notify you via posting on the service and via email or any other reasonable communications means to contact you based on information you provided to us when creating your account with respect to change these terms or any applicable additional terms. You agree to promptly notify us if you change your email or mailing address by updating your account settings. All notices given by you or required from you under these terms are applicable. Additional terms and/or the service's privacy policy shall be in writing and addressed to Sulik Way Legal, Dagmarinkatu 600100, Helsinki, Finland. Any notices that you provide without compliance with the section on the notices shall have no legal effect. If you have a question about the service, you may contact our customer service. You acknowledge that the provision of customer support is at Sulik's sole discretion and that we have no obligation to provide you with customer support of any kind. It's rude. 16.6. Equitable remedies. You acknowledge that the rights granted and obligations made under these terms and or any applicable Any applicable terms to Sulake are of unique, irreplaceable nature, the loss of which shall irreparably harm Sulake, and which cannot replace by monetary damages alone, so that Sulake shall be entitled to injunctive or other equitable relief without the obligation of posting any bond or surety or proof of damages. In the event of any breach or anticipatory breach by you, you irrevocably waive all rights to seek injunctive or other equitable relief or enjoin or restrain the operation of the service or any kind or other product or service exploitation or the advertising or other materials issued in connection therewith, or exploitation of the service or any kind or other material used displayed through the service and agreement to limit your claims to claims for monetary damages limited by Section 9, if any. 16.7. Copyright infringement. If you believe that your copyright or other rights have been infringed by content on the service, please contact our customer service for right holders in the US. Please click here to see our infringement notice and takedown policy. 16.8. Force majeure. So SULAC shall not be liable for any delay or failure to perform resulting from causes outside the reasonable control of SULAC, including without limitation and any failure to perform hereunder due to unforeseen circumstances or caused beyond SULAC control, such as acts of God, war, terrorism, riots, embargoes, acts of civil or military authorization or authorities, fire, floods, accidents, strikes, or shortages of transportation faculties, fuel, energy, labor, or materials. Oh my god. Oh, 17. The final chapter. Terms applicable for Apple iOS. If you're accessing or using a service through Apple device, the following additional terms are conditions and applicable to you and are incorporated into the terms by this reference. To the extent that you are accessing service through Apple device, you acknowledge that these terms are entered in between you and Sulake, that Apple Inc. Apple is not a party to these terms other than a third party beneficiary as contemplated below. License granted to you in Section 1 of these terms is subject to permitted usage rules set forth in the Apple Store Terms of Service. See http://www.apple.com/legal/iTunes/us/terms.html and any other third-party terms of agreement applicable to the service. You acknowledge that Sulake and not Apple is responsible for providing the service and content thereof. You acknowledge that Apple has no obligation whatsoever to furnish and maintain any support service to you with the respect to the service. In the event of any failure of the service to confirm any applicable warranty, you may notify Apple, and Apple will refund the purchase price you and to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law. Apple will have no other warranty obligation whatsoever with respect to the service. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein and subject to the terms in these terms, you acknowledge that solely as between Apple and Sulake and not Apple is responsible for addressing any claims you may have relating to the service of or your possession and or use thereof, including but not limited to product liability claims and claim that the service fails to conform to any applicable legal or regulatory requirement, and claims arising under consumer protection or similar legalization. Further, you agree that if the service or your possession and use of the service infringes on third-party intellectual property rights, you will not hold Apple responsible for the investigation, defense, settlement, and discharge of any such intellectual property infringement claims. You represent and warrant that you are not located in a country that is subject to a US government embargo or that has been designated by the US government as a terrorist supporting country and you are not listed on any US government list or prohibited or restricted. You acknowledge and agree that Apple and Apple's subsidiaries are third-party beneficiaries of these terms, and that upon your acceptance of these terms and conditions of these terms, Apple will have the right and will be deemed to have accepted the right to enforce these terms against you as a third-party beneficiary thereof. When using the service, you agree to comply with any and all third-party terms that are applicable to any platform, website, technology, or service that interacts with the service. Location-based features. If you enabled GPS, geolocation, or any location-based features or any mobile apps or feature, you acknowledge that your device location may be tracked and may be shared with others consistent with the service's privacy policy. Some mobile app or apps or features allow for you to disable location-based features or manage preferences related to them. However, you can terminate device location tracking bias by disinstalling any mobile app or apps or features the location-based service offers in connection with our mobile app or apps or features are for individual use and only should be used or relied on as an emergency locator system, used while driving or operating vehicles, or used in connections with any hazardous environments requiring fail-safe performance, or any other situation in which the failure of inaccuracy of use of the location-based services could lead directly to death, personal injury, or severe physical or property damage. Location-based services are not suited or intended for family finding purposes, fleet tracking, or any other types of business or enterprise use. Other products exist today the location-based services are not suited in any other type of business or enterprise use. Other products exist today that may be used specifically for these purposes. VAT number FI20114339 end terms . Well, now I can play Habbo Hotel in peace. Yay.